Sleep in wealth, breathe as wealth, and refuse to step down from your throne because you are the king of your reality, not its servant. The greatest misunderstanding of man is the belief that life happens to him rather than through him. Everything experienced in the world, every dollar in your account, every opportunity presented, every so-called coincidence has its root not in the economy, not in action, and not in hard labor, but in assumption. The world is not objective in the way we are taught. It is subjective. It mirrors, like a dream, the persistent inner state of the dreamer. The one who walks through life in the assumption that he is wealthy will find that life reflects that assumption. Not immediately, but unfailingly. What you accept as true becomes true. What you persist in imagining, the world is compelled to externalize. It is a false premise to believe that effort alone creates wealth. The world is full of exhausted people working double shifts who remain broke. Their effort is not the issue. Their assumption is. They assume lack, they dwell in fear, and they cling to survival. Their work only reinforces the very poverty they seek to escape. But the one who assumes wealth quietly, internally, as a state of being, without the need for external validation, reorganizes the structure of his reality. This is not mental fantasy. It is spiritual law. When you assume you are wealthy and you feel it as natural, the outer world must obey, for it has no life of its own. It is animated by your inner state. Assumption is not wishful thinking. It is a conscious inner movement of faith. It is not what you want. It is what you claim. Want keeps the thing distant, but assumption brings it here now. You cannot assume and beg at the same time. You must let go of appearances, even when the bills are stacked high. You must dare to accept that what your senses deny, your imagination can supply. This is the courage of the awakened soul. Most will not persist because they believe their senses over their inner authority. But the one who lives in the end result, who feels it, speaks from it, walks in it, changes the very texture of time. The world bends to the one who refuses to lower his assumption. Think of life as a mirror. The mirror does not smile until you smile first. You do not wait for the image to change before changing your face. And so it is with wealth. The world cannot reflect back riches to a mind that still thinks poor. You must smile inwardly as the wealthy man. Even if your pockets are empty, you must dwell in the inner mansion of abundance, even if your surroundings speak otherwise. For the mirror is delayed. It echoes your past state. But if you hold your new assumption, the mirror will catch up. This assumption must be consistent. A scattered mind cannot manifest riches. If you affirm wealth in the morning but worry at night, the seed has no root. The subconscious, which receives all assumptions as commands, cannot be fooled by fleeting desire. It responds only to feeling, to that which you impress upon it, with repetition and emotional conviction. If you wish to see a change in your financial world, you must persist in the assumption that it has already changed. You must go to sleep in the state of financial peace. You must wake up with the tone of security in your inner speech. The world responds not to effort, but to atmosphere. Let it be known that assumption is not pretending, it is believing. It is a sacred act of claiming the unseen as seen, the invisible as visible. When you walk into a room believing you are wealthy, the room reacts to you differently. People feel the shift, opportunities notice you. Not because something outside changed, but because your state changed. And state is the only substance that reality respects. All else is shadow. You are not the victim of circumstance. You are the creator of circumstance. There is no one keeping wealth from you except the version of yourself you continue to identify with, and you can change that identity at any moment by assuming a new one. Assume yourself to be rich in love, rich in peace, rich in substance. Let it settle in your bones. Carry it like a garment. Speak not as a beggar but as a possessor. The world is yours to claim, not to compete for. What is yours cannot be taken, and what you assume to be yours must come. Persist in your assumption and do not waver, for the world will test your faith. But if you hold the assumption long enough, the bridge of incidents will unfold. People you never met will help you, ideas will strike your mind, circumstances will align, the world will organize itself according to the command of your inner speech. You do not beg for this, it is law, you only assume, and live from that state as though it were more real than the world of fact. Facts change, assumptions create. To believe in the seen is no belief at all. The world applauds those who react to facts, measure evidence, and submit to what the senses dictate. But that is not the path of the creative man. If you wish to change your life, radically, permanently, completely, you must do the one thing the outer man refuses to do. You must feel your desire as if it were already fulfilled. And not weakly, not with hope, but with inner certainty so strong that no outer denial can shake it. The one who moves by feeling and not by fact commands reality. There is no creative power in observation. The world you see today is nothing but the delayed echo of a former feeling. It is past, it is done. But the mind that bows to it will repeat it endlessly. You are not here to report life, you are here to author it, to construct moment by moment a world aligned with your imagined end. And the tool you've been given is not force, nor effort, nor logic. It is feeling. Feeling is the secret passage between the formless and the formed. Whatever you feel deeply and dwell in with emotional conviction must take shape in time. Now understand this clearly. When you close your eyes and imagine yourself living in the condition you desire, whether that is a mansion, a bank account overflowing, or a life of total freedom, the image alone is not enough. It is the feeling beneath the image that impresses the subconscious. It is the emotional acceptance of that reality which makes it fertile. You must live in it so completely that your mood shifts, your posture adjusts, your tone changes. You must make that unseen reality feel more natural than the circumstances that contradict it. If, in your imagination, you see yourself rich but feel unworthy, the world will echo the feeling, not the picture. It is the vibration, not the vision, that speaks the command. This is why many people visualize for hours but see no results. They are still anchored emotionally to their current state. They may look at wealth from afar, but they do not walk in it inwardly. They feel like a visitor, not a resident. The universe does not grant requests. It reflects inner tones. So the question becomes, can you feel the richness now before the money appears? Can you enter the atmosphere of affluence even as your outer world insists otherwise? Can you lie in your bed tonight and drift to sleep in the mood of luxury even if your mattress is worn and your room is small? Can you mentally touch the walls of your imagined home and hear the echo of your laughter in a room you've never physically entered? If you can, you've discovered the key. For what you feel with depth, you bring forth with certainty. All great transformation begins with a shift in feeling. You cannot think your way into wealth. Thought without feeling is powerless. But once feeling is engaged, the machinery of the universe begins to move. Circumstances realign, ideas flood the mind, and bridges of incident unfold. But it begins not with action. It begins with dwelling in the state of the fulfilled desire so completely that you forget you once lacked it. You must die to the old feeling to live in the new one. The challenge is this: the world will contradict your inner vision. It will scream facts, balances, rejections, and delays. But you must learn to regard these facts as unreal, for they are only the reflection of a former assumption. They are not prophecy, they are residue. You must refuse to accept them as the final word. And how do you refuse? Not by fighting, not by denying with force, but by turning away from them inwardly and feeling the truth of your new reality more vividly than the facts that oppose it. Practice this every night. Enter the scene of your desire fulfilled as though it were memory. Let it become so familiar that you wake up surprised to find yourself anywhere else. Let the inner world become the real world to you. Walk in your imagined life with confidence. Make decisions from that state. Let your feelings lead your assumptions, and your assumptions lead your life. For what you are loyal to in feeling, you will be united with in form. This is not delusion, it is creation. It is not escape, it is mastery. The one who feels truthfully, richly, and consistently from the end reorders life without touching it. He moves mountains with moods. He alters destinies by entering states. He becomes what he feels, and the world, in turn, becomes him. The world waits for those who command it, not for those who explain it. Every human being walks through life surrounded by shadows of their own creation, and yet so few know it. Most look out into the world and believe they are powerless, subjects of luck, fate, or systems outside their control. They speak of bad breaks and external forces as if life were governed by something other than their own internal state. But the truth is far simpler and far more demanding. You are the operant power. Nothing changes unless you change. No one comes unless you call them. No situation shifts until you shift within. This law is not cruel, but it is absolute. The moment you recognize yourself as the cause of your experience, you stop blaming others, stop waiting for rescue, and begin to live from power. Not the kind of power the world celebrates, force, money, or fame, but the quiet, eternal power to assume and persist in a new identity. That assumption, when held without wavering, reshapes everything in its image. But most refuse this truth because it removes the illusion of victimhood. It says plainly, you are responsible for what you see, and only you can change it. Now, this power does not ask for effort. It does not require proof. It only asks for recognition and use. You do not need to convince anyone else, nor do you need to justify your desires. You simply take them within and feel them as already real, and you do this repeatedly until the outer world conforms. And it will, but it will do so in its own way, in its own time, through a path your rational mind may never predict. This is why effort fails and inner conviction succeeds. The operant power does not act in haste, it creates through faith. The problem for most is that they still believe in external causation. They believe money comes through jobs, relationships through charm, and health through treatments. And while these may be the visible channels, they are not the cause. The cause is always your assumption, your state of being. All things come to you through the feeling you hold about yourself. The man who assumes wealth will find opportunities arise out of nowhere. The woman who assumes she is loved will be surrounded by affection. These effects are not rewards, they are reflections. To be the operant power means you move first. You do not wait for evidence. You do not ask for signs. You do not bargain with time or circumstances. You go within, claim the end, and rest in that claim. And when the world contradicts it, you do not flinch. You remember, I am the cause. I move reality, not the other way around. It is this refusal to be influenced by facts that distinguishes the creator from the reactor. Most are merely bouncing off outer events. They live in reaction. They wait for conditions to change before they change their inner story. And in doing so, they freeze their own power. There is no one coming to give you permission. There is no external authority holding your abundance hostage. All limitations are self-imposed through unconscious loyalty to an old identity. But identity is fluid. You can drop poverty in a moment and pick up wealth, not by accumulating money, but by shifting your sense of self. You can discard loneliness and assume connection, not by finding someone, but by becoming someone who is never alone. This is what the operant power does. It becomes what it seeks and allows the outer world to mirror it. So you must take your attention away from the screen of life and place it firmly on your inner script. What are you imagining when no one watches? What do you believe about yourself at 2 a.m. when the world is silent? That is the place of power. Not the social media feed, not the bank balance, not the news, but that secret inner sanctuary where you decide quietly and consistently who you are and what is real. That decision is law. That assumption is destiny. And the world has no choice but to comply. You must stop thinking that you are at the mercy of time. Time only delays what you deny yourself. The moment you accept a new state as true, the seed is planted. And though you may not see it sprouting immediately, know this: it is growing. Life always responds to the one who acts from within. The outer world is not solid, it is plastic to your belief. It can and will mold itself to the image you hold persistently. But you must persist, not with effort, but with identity. You must wear the new man or woman like skin, not like costume. You do not need to do anything to make it happen. You only need to assume it's already done, and walk, speak, and live from that inner assurance. Do not be swayed by appearances. Do not explain yourself to doubters. You do not owe the world an explanation for your inner transformation. Your job is not to prove, it is to assume. And once you assume, life takes on new shape. People change, circumstances alter, the universe opens. Because it is not separate from you. It is you projected outward. Man has been conditioned to toil, to chase, to grind himself into the ground for what he believes must be earned through sweat and sacrifice. Yet no great truth is ever hidden in effort. The law of life has never been struggle by assumption. It has never been based on how hard one works, but on the consciousness from which one operates. The poor man who works day and night to barely survive is not lacking effort. He is lacking awareness of self. He believes that riches are external rewards rather than internal states. And so his hands bleed, but his life does not bloom. What he calls failure is not the absence of opportunity. It is the presence of a mistaken identity. Riches are not reserved for the chosen few. They are not decided by luck, nor handed out by fortune's wheel. They are the natural result of assuming oneself to be rich in consciousness. Just as light follows the dawn, so too does wealth follow the one who first feels himself to be wealthy. Not temporarily, not conditionally, but permanently, regardless of current evidence. This is a law, not man's law, not economic law, but spiritual law. It is unbending. You cannot receive what you do not internally claim. And the moment you do claim it, not in words, but in feeling, the wheels begin to turn. This is why many who labor never arrive. They confuse motion with creation. They think activity equals prosperity, but they move from a place of inner poverty. They believe that if they just work a little harder, impress the right people, or earn enough credentials, success will follow. And often it does not, because their work is rooted in fear, not fulfillment. Their hands are busy, but their soul remains in lack. It is not what you do that makes you rich. It is who you are in consciousness while you do it. To shift this, you must begin not with action, but with awareness. You must ask not what can I do to become wealthy, but who am I in relation to wealth? If you see wealth as something outside of yourself, you will endlessly pursue it. If you see it as already yours in consciousness, it must take form in the world. The one who walks in the knowing of inner richness is never without it for long. His outer world simply mirrors what he carries within. He does not chase money. Money comes to him. He does not hunt for status. Status is attracted to his state. You may ask, but what of hard work? Effort has its place, but it is not the source. It is merely the expression of your state. If you are truly wealthy in consciousness, then whatever actions you take will be effortless, joyful, aligned. You will not move out of desperation, but out of overflow. You will not chase opportunity, it will present itself. You will not fear the future, you will command it. And when others ask how you did it, you will not speak of methods. You will speak of certainty, of assumption, of the quiet shift that happened not in the world, but in your inner world. This is the great inversion, the truth that few dare to accept. You are not made rich by money, You are made rich by believing you are. You do not save, hustle, or fight your way to abundance. You assume abundance, and life aligns accordingly. Some will mock this. Let them. They believe only in what they can see, and so they will always be slaves to what already exists. But those who understand the power of consciousness know that the outer follows the inner as surely as night follows day. It is a divine sequence that cannot be broken. If you would become wealthy, then practice the feeling of wealth. Walk through the world as though you had all you needed, not arrogantly, but peacefully. Let your posture speak. Success before your wallet does. Let your imagination build empires before your hands touch the material. Let your sleep be filled with the atmosphere of completion. For it is from this state that new realities are born. And once born within, they must come without. You do not need permission. You do not need proof. You need only faith in your unseen riches. And by faith, I do not mean hope. I mean the inner assurance that it is already done. That what you desire is not distant, but present. That what you long for is not coming, but already yours in the invisible realm. And the more you dwell in that knowing, the more the world will reflect it back, not as fantasy, but as fact. The world is only ever telling you who you are. If you do not like the story, change the author. Change your state. Riches belong to the one who claims them, not with his hands, but with his heart. They come not to the one who works hardest, but to the one who assumes most faithfully. This is not a shortcut. It is the only path. So now you understand, your outer world is not determining your life. Your inner assumption is. Riches are not waiting to find you. They are waiting for you to recognize that they were yours all along. The future you desire, the lavish freedom, the effortless abundance, the overflowing bank account is not ahead of you in time. It is here, but it lies behind a curtain of disbelief. That curtain is lifted the moment you assume, not once, not twice, but until it feels natural, until you live as though it is already so. That is your only responsibility. There is no one to convince. You do not need to fight the old reality. You simply turn your attention inward and dwell in the richness of being until the world bends in agreement. The riches of life are not awarded, they are accepted. You are not here to qualify for abundance. You are here to embody it, and you do so by walking, thinking, and feeling as if your wealth has already arrived. If you persist in the assumption, the bridge of life will unfold. Doors will open, people will appear, money will flow. Not by magic, but by law. Not by force, but by faith. You are the operant power. You are the cause. And your world, no matter how rigid it seems, must obey the one who assumes with conviction and refuses to be denied. The question is not whether you can become rich. The only question is, will you assume it long enough for it to become real? Because the moment you do, it already is.